Hello. Tonight starts a new series on this podcast where I'll be talking to candidates running for office around the country. From city council up to gubernatorial races, every seat is crucial if we have any chance of restoring decency. If you're in Idaho, you may not think that what's going on in Maryland applies to you. But believe me, it does. Liberal policies don't spread by accident. There is an organized, concerted, and well-funded effort to wreak legislative havoc around the country. So I say, let's learn from each other around the country so we can get smarter and stronger faster. So in the future, we're not stuck playing defense like we have been for the past few years. My first guest in the series is from the great state of New Jersey. Peter Sykes is running for a state assembly seat. It's his first time running for office. And in today's political climate, frankly, you got to be a little crazy to jump in, but he's doing it anyway. So let's bring him in.
Hi, Elena.
Pete,
How you doing?
how are you doing tonight?
I'm doing fantastic, and I must be a little crazy, but I'm here anyway.
Yeah, I mean, I really think that everyone, and probably you up until you decided to run, would look at the political landscape and say, you got to be crazy to jump in. They go after your family, they go after your character. It could affect your ability to earn a living. But yet, and it's just loaded with snakes and liars and thieves, and yet good people like you keep stepping up and saying that you're going to do this. And before we get into the issues, I would love to hear a little bit about you. I want everyone watching to know who you are, why you did this, what your background is, and what they can expect from you, and then we can talk about the nitty-gritty issues. So shoot.
Perfect. All right. So, I was raised, my father was an electrical contractor. So clearly that was my first job at 14 years old. I started off life as an electrician, trying to troubleshoot problems and, make things work. All right. I moved around a lot from New Jersey to Florida to Hawaii, back to Florida, back to all over the place. All right. When I was 24 years old, I decided I was going to follow my mother's footsteps and I became a nurse. All right, because we all need a little bit of stability in our lives. Okay, so I was down in Florida. I became a nurse. I was working down there mostly in mental health. All right, so I've seen
Wow,
a lot of mental health issues. Yeah, it's very, very,
that's tough.
it's a rough career. After so long of that, look, health issues took their toll, tragedies. You know how the story goes. Um, so around 2021, I was recovering from a severe surgery, almost died. I have my fiance and my two little girls, and I said, all right, we're moving back up to New Jersey where we have family around. I want the girls growing up with cousins and things like that. I knew that COVID was an issue, but I was in Florida at the time, so we didn't have a whole lot of the masking. We didn't have a whole lot of that. I
Yeah.
got up here and my daughter started kindergarten wearing a mask. And it's just, what are we doing here? So then it was right around the time DeSantis put out the Parental Rights and Education Act, saying that you shouldn't be having conversations in private at school with children about sexual education.
Is that's the one that they misnomered as the "Don't Say Gay" bill, correct?
That's exactly what that
Yeah,
one
yeah,
is. Okay,
yeah.
so I said, hold on, what is this? Up until that time, I wasn't paying attention to any type of politics or, anything going on. So I said, hold on, I got to start to get educated on what's going on. I started consuming podcasts every single waking moment that I could. Timcast was my go-to. I say he gave me my political education because he has the 8 to 10 slot Monday through Friday. For 3 years, I watched every single episode that he put out there. And it's just, he gives you such a way to understand what's going on and not primarily what to think, because I don't agree with everything that he says, but how he came to his conclusions, and that was very, very important for me because we need to learn how to think, right? That's what we need to be teaching our children is how to think.
Yes.
But most people in this day and age, they didn't want to pay attention to politics. They just want to be left alone to live their lives. This is my gripe with Republicans across the board, because this is exactly what it was. But the problem is if we don't pay attention to what's going on and educate ourselves on these issues, then we leave it to vacant to people that have,
Yeah.
selfish and bad intentions at heart.
Right. Well, Pete, that's exactly why I wanted to start talking to candidates around the country. Like I explained in the intro, I think it's so important that we're having these conversations like this. Like, even though I don't live in New Jersey anymore, I have for, at periods, even though I don't live there, I can learn from what you're doing and make sure that any nonsense that's going on there doesn't happen here, or learn from what you're doing and put in preventative measures here, or strengthen things that are
Yeah.
good and solid. And when we all need to be paying attention to each other and supporting each other, and that's why I'm psyched that you're here. But yeah, go ahead. So tell us, so you're in a place, you're learning, you're all of a sudden have this awakened curiosity because you're seeing your 5-year-old being forced to put on a mask when you're also being told the children aren't even really affected by this, and the worst they get is like a fever, and then they're for a couple of days and they're fine. Because I remember hearing that. None of it made sense. What happened next?
Well, I'm also in healthcare, right? So, I mean, I've seen a lot of this front line. I got up here and got a job working at a local clinic, and I had to swab my nose every day, every week. I had to wear a mask every single day I was in the building because I refused to get that COVID shot. I wasn't doing it. It was an experimental drug, came out of nowhere, and that wasn't for me. And I just had this feeling inside that being after everything I almost went through, almost dying, septic shock in the ICU for 3 weeks, that if I got that shot, I was a dead man. I was not taking that shot.
Yeah.
All right. And luckily my clinic allowed me to do that, but they put steps in place that I had to follow. So I get up here and I'm learning, and I'm just trying to establish my life back up here, returning home. And it's funny that everybody from up here left during this time to go to Florida, where it was free and everything down there that they had going on.
Yeah. So you were
But
going in the
God
wrong
called me
direction.
home. God called
Yeah.
me home to join the front lines. And that was unbeknownst to me at the time. I had no idea what I was doing when I got up here. I just knew I had to come home. And then all of a sudden, it all culminated one day about a year ago when I went to go see Am I Racist by Matt Walsh. And on the way out, I happened to stumble across a short little Italian guy who cut my fiance, who's Filipino, off on the way out the theater and said, "Oh my God, I'm so sorry, I'm not racist." It turns out that gentleman was Damon Galdo, who I voted for in Congress because of his strong family connection, was a construction worker, a normal guy. Everything I wanted to see out of my politicians is what he was. And I
Yeah.
run into him in a movie theater, and next thing you know, a couple weeks later, I'm on his radio show. I'm doing the podcast with him, and one of these days, the leader, the chairwoman of the Camden County GOP, Kimberly Stewart, calls into the show, and we're interviewing. I say, "Kim, what is it that people can do to help you? What do you need?" She says, "Well, I need candidates." So Damon looks and says, "Pete, you're in Camden County. When are you going to run?" That was on a Thursday. Friday, the group text comes. Sunday, I'm running for assembly.
Wow. All right. So you just leapt before you even looked. Okay. Which is really great. Because I don't say that in a bad way, because sometimes
No.
that is a good thing to just jump in and say, that the place is on fire, right? There's no mistaking it. So to jump in and say, I'm gonna go in and try to put this fire out is incredible.
I've adopted this policy in my belief system. It's, listen, I want to be the leader that I want to see. All right. I want to, if no one else is going to fix the problems that we have, it doesn't matter if it's clogging a toilet or, whatever it is, right? Doesn't matter. If no one else is going to do the job, I guess I'm going to have to do the job because it has to get done. And that's the belief system that I've embodied. And that's what I try to live now.
All right, so now you're running for office, and New Jersey has a lot of issues that I don't know quite how they haven't risen to the level of national conversation, to the extent that they should, because your governor, Phil Murphy, seems to fly under the radar when he is a left-wing maniac, up there with Gavin Newsom and Maura Healey from Massachusetts. I mean, he really knows how to destroy a state. So one of the things that's going on there that has been there for a long time, in fairness to Phil Murphy, is New Jersey is known for ridiculously high property taxes. Talk about that, please.
Yeah, I mean, I think we're number one in the country. They just continue to go up. It's funny, the Democrats have owned the Assembly and the Senate in New Jersey since the early 2000s, right? So even when Christie got in, They call him a rhino and whatever else back in the teens, the 2010s. And he still didn't have a lot of opportunities to make change because the assembly, right, basically the House of Representatives, right, on the federal level is what the assembly is, and then the state senate. I mean, if you don't own those, you can't get anything accomplished.
Right.
And the Democrats, aside from Christie, have had the trifecta here, for the past 20, 25 years. So, I mean, it's just failed Democrat policy all across the board, and it's funny. The failed Democrat policies actually have us under more water than climate change ever will. So what is it that we're going to go ahead and do to fix these? We need Chitterelli to come in and win right now, and we have to flip 13 assembly seats to give him the freedom to actually change some of these policies.
And there are, if I'm not mistaken, is it 40 assembly seats? Is that correct?
80. There's 80 assembly seats.
Assembly seats, and you got to flip 13 of them. How realistic is that?
Well, listen, I was at a Chitterelli event this past Sunday, not the one that just passed, the previous one. We had 6 different assembly candidates for 4 different districts at that event. I don't know if that's ever happened before, but I was so thrilled to see it. If we can all get on the same page, even right here in very blue Camden County, we can make a difference. We can flip these seats and all of a sudden we could see a big change coming for New Jersey that we honestly need because we have to take this boot off our neck if we're going to survive.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, in order to say give the people some relief and reduce property taxes, maybe reduce income taxes, whatever it is. I mean, you're going to have to cut some things from the state budget. I mean, what's being looked at? I know you can't really see it till you're in there, but you must have some idea.
Well, we're sitting here, me and my running mate, Jack Brandon, who you'll be interviewing here in a few more days. We're trying to look at every avenue that we possibly can. One of the biggest ones is this green energy mandates and initiatives. I'm an environmentalist as well, right? I want to see the environment do good. We are one with the environment. We need to take care of it. But trying to push solar power or solar panels and this wind push, the wind they're saying it's killing all these whales. Why do we have 7, 8, 9, 10 whales washing up on the Jersey Shore after they start trying to pound these solar or the wind turbines into the ocean? They've spent $7 billion. It hasn't generated 1 kilowatt of energy.
Where's I would love. I know we have like really big problems, but I would love for someday somebody to really follow that money and track it down and see where it went. Because here you're saying $7 billion are spent. They're not only killing whales, they're killing like tens of millions of birds in this country are being killed every year by these windmills. The windmills don't last that long. They break apart. They go into landfills. They're not even they never produce the energy that they that it costs to produce them. Never mind, right? They're toxic materials, styrofoam, Cape Cod beaches in Massachusetts, the same thing. Whales washing up, pollution, plastic and styrofoam all over the beach, and saving the earth. And it's all nonsense because they're not really they're not conservationists, which is what we should be. I'm a little older than you. I grew up in the where we were talking about conservation, keeping the earth as it is and treating it with respect. They really don't care. It's all lip service, and it's all about somebody got really, really rich with that $7 billion. And
so that's the second part.
To know where. Go ahead.
So that's the second part, right? So Doge, we've seen what they're doing with Doge in the federal government. We need to audit the entire state. We need to audit every single one of these little towns, and we need to see where our money is going, what's it being spent on. These people, it's a free check to them, right? I mean, they just reach their hand into the citizens of New Jersey, their pockets, and then take that money. It's not their money. They don't care what they spend it on. How fiscal responsible are they being? Because I bet they're not. But we have to budget our balance every day to make sure that all our bills are paid. That should go into our government as well.
In the state of Massachusetts, the people voted on a referendum for the people voted for a statewide audit to happen, to pay for a statewide audit. And ever since that vote passed, they still have not done it. The state house has refused to go forward on the audit, even though the people have a right to it now because they voted on it. And it makes me wonder what they're really hiding now. To hear a legislator, potential legislator like yourself, saying that you're willing to go in and do that. I mean, you might uncover some darkness from people in your own party. Are you willing to expose that?
Listen, darkness needs to come out. All right. Sunshine is the best disinfectant. If we're going to build something and go forward, we need to have a solid foundation. Okay. We can't have one cracked up with lies and hidden, skeletons in the closet. We have to move forward as a state here, right? Because I'm in New Jersey, is what we're doing. And we need to expose the darkness so that we can come together and rebuild trust with the citizenry. Right now, I mean, we're two different political factions, two different worlds, two different everything, right? We need to bring the people back together. It's the most important thing that we have to look forward to here. And in order to do that, we have to crack that foundation and start new.
How are you doing that? Like how? So as part of your race, bringing people together is the $1 million question right now. How to really do that? Because people don't even want it. There's so many people that refuse to even have a real conversation with somebody that doesn't agree with them. They're not really willing to say, let me hear your ideas and tell me, and maybe I can adopt some of them, or at least I can be respectful and listen and give thoughtful consideration. We're not doing that. Yeah. So, I mean, and your best bet as a candidate is probably, reaching out to people who are on the fence. Obviously those people are reachable. What's going on in your campaign right now? Because this what do we got? 2 months?
Yeah,
over 2 months. I mean, you're coming down to the wire here, right?
Yeah. I mean, listen, this one is going to come down to the wire. Like I said, my opponent's been in here for 30 years. I mean, it's a very blue district. They don't even know what these guys are doing out there, if they're doing anything good or not. It's just vote blue no matter who. And that is the struggle. You're absolutely right. So I'm banking on the fact that people are tired of the failed leadership that's been happening, and they're ready for something different. The Democrat leaderships today, right? Federal government, state, whatever it is, they all back the same 80-20 issues, and they're on the wrong side of them.
Yeah.
So I mean, I'm hoping that enough people are stepping up and saying, guys, we can't keep going this way. It is too unaffordable to live here right now. We need something to change drastically, and I hope they're open for that. I am not a career politician. I've never been in politics. I'm bumbling through this a little bit right now, but the fact is that I am willing to look for every avenue to find the changes that we need going forward. I will listen to anybody. If they have a good idea, I won't shut it down. I don't care what side they're on, It's if you bring me something feasible that can hold water, I will absolutely look into it.
Yeah. I mean, I really appreciate your open-mindedness, and you and I have talked, offline, and just your attitude of, hey, I don't have all the answers, but I'm going to find them.
That's it.
And that's what we need, because what we have now is people like your opponent who have been there for decades, and they say, you know what, you go sit, you pretty little, go sit down. And don't worry, you pretty little head. I got this. And I've got all the answers. Don't worry about it. And people listen, and they just go, okay, yeah, I trust him. And these people have driven the state off of a financial cliff.
That's it.
And it's really sad. And you still have crime problems. One of the biggest problems that's facing New Jersey, again, under the radar nationally, which it should not be, is your problem of illegal immigration. Now, if you get into the state house, what are you going to do?
Well, listen, estimates of 1 million illegal immigrants in New Jersey, right? It's a problem, and not only that, but they're getting all the free services that are supposed to be going to the citizenry. I mean, I think estimates were, if we go ahead and got them out of, if we deported them or got them out of here, stopped paying for them, it could give every single homeowner $2,000 return on their property tax bill. $2,000 per home.
It's funny. So, yeah, go ahead.
And listen, no, it's listen. I'm a humanitarian as well, right? I'm a nurse. I love people. I want the best for people. The problem is that when all these people come here and they're living off the system, they're straining the system, that wasn't meant to do that for them. We're robbing Peter to pay Paul. We're cutting off our nose in spite of our face. You know, my fiance here, Nora, she is a legal immigrant from the Philippines. She's been here for 20 years. You know, she came over the correct way. It's time consuming, it's expensive. I
Yeah,
understand that. You know, but she came here, she did it right. And it's really a slap in the face to the people that have gone through that process. You know,
absolutely.
I mean, to think that you can just come here and get everything for free when she had to work hard to come here and still couldn't get things for free when she got here.
You know, a couple of things. Right. Absolutely. She has to work hard to come here. You know, when people say, oh, it's expensive, it is also expensive to come here illegally. So I don't want to hear that they can't come in the front door. You
Yep.
know, I mean, how many stories have we heard of illegal immigrants paying between $5,000 and $10,000 a head to a smuggler to get here, when
Yep.
about 60% of Americans don't have $1,000 in a bank account for an emergency, but they've got 5 to 10 grand ahead to get to come in here and then live off the backs of those Americans who don't have anything in their own savings accounts. It's really exhausting. And I'm not saying we shouldn't have compassion for people who are
Agreed.
here.
Yeah.
Like I'm a Christian. I think we should have compassion, but I also believe we should follow the laws of the land and keep it real. And, you know, there was in Jersey just a few weeks ago, there was a mother and a daughter and the daughter's little friend. The girls were both 11 years old, and they were just going out one night to go to run to Wawa, which if you're watching from another state, Wawa is just a
The
gas
greatest
station.
store ever. It's the greatest store ever.
It's not. It's nowhere near it's nowhere near Bucky's. And if Bucky's had a little cousin, it would be Wawa. Okay. But anyway, so Wawa, yeah. If you haven't been to, you know, Bucky's, you're
I don't know Bucky's, but I remember when Wawa came to Florida, I was so excited. Oh
Yes.
my God, I was selling it to everybody.
All right. Well, wait till you move. Wait till I'm going to get you and your fiance to Bucky's one day, and the kids, they got to come anyway.
Yes, all right, go
So
ahead.
so
Continue.
they're just going to Wawa to get some milkshakes, and an illegal alien plows into them and takes the lives of the mother and the daughter, and the little girl in the back seat survived. The little friend managed to survive. So this just happened in New Jersey. Now there are countless crimes
Yep.
that have happened against Americans.
The rapes, the murders. I mean, you can go through and look them all up. Jack Brandon, my running mate, he's got them all wrote down.
Yeah. Yeah. So this in this case, the illegal alien was drunk and was 3 times over the legal limit behind the wheel when they killed his mother and daughter and traumatized another little girl who now had to survive that and is never going to be the same. This is something that should never have been. But, you know, Phil Murphy wanted to make Jersey a sanctuary state, to the point where they put in 2018, they created something called the Immigrant Trust Directive, which forbids state and local law enforcement from helping ICE at all.
Yep.
And so cops were hands off. And I want you to respond to this. Your attorney general at the time, Gerber Graywall, said this: no law-abiding resident should live in fear that a routine traffic stop will result in deportation.
Well,
Law-abiding is a funny.
It is a funny, listen, I mean, aside from just that, we've gotten rid of cash bail up here, and it's the same thing with the Soros prosecutors. They're not putting the criminals in jail, but it's all connected, right? Everything is connected. Crime is rampant. We got teenage gangs running around at all the events that these towns are trying to have, causing havoc and mayhem. We go ahead and we have the illegals, like you said. You shouldn't have to be worried about a traffic stop. Look, I think that police should be focused on criminals versus traffic stops, to be perfectly honest with you. But that's just my take. I understand
What do
it's
you
part of
mean?
it.
What do you? Can you explain that?
Can I? Well, listen, you're running a little late, you're speeding a little bit, your license plate is out of, I don't know. I just would rather have people go after the drug dealers and the rapists, right? The real crime. I would like to see more focus on that. But with that being said, I mean, I understand that traffic stops are a way to go ahead and find some of those, criminalities. But, once we get the criminals in handcuffs, I mean, if they're out there caught, they should be in jail.
Yeah.
Now look, we can talk about jail reform as well, because I would entertain that conversation, right? Our jail system is far from perfect. Privatizing state prisons, issues with those as well. But
Yes.
the fact is that we have to make the state or the streets safe. And right now with these people running around with ICE not being allowed to operate here, you refuse to deport people. I mean, Phil Murphy, he just went out a few months ago and said, "Oh, well, I have an illegal living above my garage. Come get her." That's our governor here. And that's what he's saying. I just don't understand how you can lead if that's going to be your stance.
Yeah, I don't understand how none of these leaders are in handcuffs, because harboring, transporting, aiding, abetting illegal aliens is a crime. It is on the books as a federal crime. If any of us did it, we could go to jail. And you have these governors and mayors who are extremely blatant, city councilors, blatant in their disregard for the law, and they are constantly, up yours with the law. These people are my people now. And I really can't wrap my head around why somebody like Murphy isn't in handcuffs and being charged at the federal level, and also not just being charged for the aiding and abetting and the harboring and the transporting, but that very same criminal statute has clauses in it that say that if you did any of those things and the person who you harbored committed a crime, you are also responsible for that crime along with the person. So that illegal alien who drove drunk and killed those two that mother and daughter, because he allowed it and because he created policies that gave sanctuary to that man, Phil should be charged with those crimes as well. And I'm frustrated, along with other Americans, that at the federal level, states like yours aren't getting the help that they deserve.
Well, I agree with that 100%. I mean, look, you want to clean it up, it goes to the top. It's not just the prosecutors, right? It's also the judges that we have. We have a lot of these left wing road judges.
Yeah.
That just let people out. It's a tragedy, man, and it's something that I don't know how we can go about fixing all these problems, but I'm willing to look for any answer, that's needed to find them.
Yeah, I mean, take a
Because we
look
can't
at
continue operating
Florida.
this way.
They're doing a good job on some of these things down in Florida. The next thing I wanted to ask you about was, the schools in New Jersey. There's a lot of problems. One of them is that the state has a policy, and it's not mandatory, but the state's policy recommends that schools do not tell parents if a child has, his or her own identity at school. Mm-hmm. So again, it's not mandatory, but then as a parent, you really don't know. You don't know. You cannot trust your school administrators or the teachers or the librarians, because they may be standing between, keeping secrets between you and your child. And I don't know, I'm old enough to remember that if a parent said to me, if any adult ever tries to keep a secret with you, that means they're a creep. Come to me and tell me.
They have a program here called Teen Pep, and a local high school right here. I got a picture from somebody I know that's going there, and it's where the seniors teach the freshmen sexual education. And I have a picture on my phone, or at least I did till I got a new phone, of two young girls sitting on the gymnasium floor with an adult sex toy right there. Now, depending on who you talk to, oh, well, they have to know about this. They have to, we have to educate them so that, listen, I'm sorry. If the sexual education that we were teaching children was working, we wouldn't be seeing a rise in young STDs across the board.
Yep.
Working in clinics, I see young adults and children coming in here, and they have the herpes 1, 2, chlamydia, gonorrhea, all these different things. If it was working, we wouldn't be seeing these constantly.
Right. So the reason, go ahead.
No, well, clearly the idea is that we're putting them into these children's heads, and we're making it commonplace to have these conversations, as opposed to where it used to be a little taboo, but you're a little shy about it. I've heard now that starting in elementary school, you're finding full-blown intercourse all the way around, right? Middle school, I think is what they said. Yeah. Whereas, in my day, it might have been a little, second base or something like that. Now it's
Well,
progress.
and that was something that you heard from a friend who heard it from his older brother.
You see what I'm saying?
It wasn't in the books at school. It wasn't
Hmm.
something you could take off. I could read to you from books that are in New Jersey schools that would make you throw
Oh
up.
yeah. You can look
And
at amaze.org and find all the information they use to teach those sexual programs, and they are not videos that children should be watching.
and I'll tell you that there's something that I would like a legislator like yourself when getting into the state house in a state house like New Jersey to really to fight back against this. The American Library Association needs to be kicked out of your state. They have put sexually explicit and gender bending books in the hands of children in schools across the state. You have the Freedom to Read Act, or sometimes called the Right to Read Act, and it's in a handful of states, and one of them is New Jersey, where they say that the state passed a law that says that you cannot remove books just because somebody doesn't like them. But sexually explicit books, per the Supreme Court, and this older 1980s case called Island Trees Island Trees School District versus Pico, says that a school board can remove sexually explicit books. But Phil Murphy says no, you can't. So he's in actual defiance of the Supreme Court. So this law needs to be repealed. Children need to be protected from this stuff because, like you said, the STD industry is booming because children are getting STDs younger because they're told that this is normal and good.
Mm-hmm.
You have Planned Parenthood in the school districts. That needs somebody at the state level needs to come in and say, we're getting rid of this and we're yanking their funding and getting them out of the schools. Why are elementary school children, why do they even know the word abortion? They shouldn't even know it. And they're being taught it. And you have a mix of teachers. You have the good guys who have been intimidated by their unions not to speak up. And then you have the lunatics who believe that little kids are sexual and they should be taught all of this stuff. And they may be born in the wrong body. And America's a bad country. And everybody's race. And you know, they're all racist. And you're either oppressed or the oppressor. And all the bullshit that they teach, excuse my language. And somebody needs to come in and yank it all. And Trump is doing what he can at the federal level, but it needs to happen at the state level.
So I'll tell you, it's a great point you're making, and Trump did go ahead and he put in that the executive order. Now, if that gets codified into laws, when we're really going to see progress on this, right? Because right now anything could change and go back. You never know. But once I get in here, I'm already trying to recreate an education system from years past. All right. If we start looking in these other countries, China specifically, they're teaching their children how to make rice at 5 years old. All right. We have young adults that don't know how to make rice here.
Yeah.
Okay. Right. For the longest time since I've been in school, it's, oh, yeah, kids come out, they don't know how to balance a checkbook. We've gotten way beyond that nowadays. We're seeing failure to thrive across the board. And we have to go ahead and teach life skills, get the kids out of the classroom. Why is it that if a young boy who's not supposed to be sitting in a seat for 8 hours a day starts fidgeting or doing, and you say, oh, ADHD, give him Adderall. Why are we giving amphetamines to children? I mean, we need to come up with a new system that takes the kids out of the classroom, teaches them life skills, teaches them how to cook, how to clean, how to sew. Remember home ec? We need to get back to that.
Yeah.
All right.
And how to fix things. I mean, and those classes were fun.
Mm-hmm.
They were fun. And like you said, and they gave us all a foundation for how to just take care of ourselves in life. Because why not learn that at school? Because homeschoolers, they do everything. They teach everything they need to teach in 2 to 3 hours a day. And do you know that homeschoolers outperform public and private school students on standardized testing? So if they can do that in 2 to 3 hours a day, it should be able to be done in a public school classroom and use the rest of the time to get kids up and doing with their hands and creating and learning.
We should have agriculture in school. We should have gardens. We should have indoor gardening. We can change the map on so many different things right now. That's what it is. And with Trump getting rid of the federal Department of Education, all right, states are going to go ahead and have to figure out what is the next education system they implement in their state. And that's what we have the opportunity to provide right now. which is why I've been trying to work on a curriculum. And look, I'm not a teacher. I'm not a, one of these academics. Okay. I'm going to need help doing this, but I've absolutely been trying to go ahead and get a basis down that we can build upon and actually create a new curriculum and a new way of educating our children that really just goes back to ways past.
Yeah, phonics, maybe go back to phonics, because what they do now is the sight reading. So they just teach kids. They don't teach kids how to sound out a word anymore. They'll just show them the word dog, and then they just kind of recognize the shape and know that it means dog, instead of learning how to read the way you and I were taught. That is probably going to be the biggest change. But I actually believe that phonics and all the basics and all the goodness was taken out of the education on purpose. At this point, I cannot believe that anybody thinks after 50 years of the Department of Education that anything is going well. I believe that all of this was done on purpose so that we become helpless and dependent upon on the government, and we welcome communism. And
they put out in 1963, I believe, January 10th, they actually had a session in Congress that went over the communistic goals for America, and taking over the education system was definitely one of them.
Yes. And on top of not teaching them to read and think critically, they've taught them all the hateful things that I mentioned earlier. America is a bad country. When they talk about George Washington, they don't talk about the amazing work he did to free this country and lay the foundation for the freedoms we enjoy today. They just say he was a slave owner and a bad man, and that was it. And that's the end of the story.
Well, going back to the founders, right? All of our documents were written in cursive, correct?
Yeah.
What did they stop teaching in schools?
Yeah, cursive.
Okay, so if you make it so that the children can't read the documentation that was provided by the founders, all right, all of a sudden they forget what their rights are.
Yeah, they don't know. I mean, when you start getting into, I'm no constitutional expert, but all the people that are screaming, for example, about the constitutional crisis that we're in under the Trump presidency, if you even ask them one or two probing questions, their argument falls apart. They don't even understand the Constitution.
They just regurgitate what the talking points are. That's all, and then they forget them. They memory hole them in a month or a week. And then just move on to the next topic, and they regurgitate those ones. That's why they keep saying the same things on all the media channels. Doesn't matter what channel you put it on, what you listen to, they repeat the same thing verbatim, every single person.
Yeah. It's really exhausting. It's funny. I just got to tell you a little story. So a good friend of mine recommended that I watch the movie The American President. And I've heard it's a very charming movie. Remember that movie? It was from 1995 with Michael Douglas and Annette Bening. And he's a widower. He's the president. And, this lobbyist comes in and they fall in love. And it's oh so sweet. And I should have really just enjoyed a little rom-com. I couldn't, because the politics in the movie drove me insane. And I just went nuts. I was like, I hate this movie. I hate these people, because here's the president. He has this daughter, an elementary age daughter, and he's trying to teach her about the Constitution and the importance of it and how much he loves this country. And he's talking about First Amendment rights, and he will never change, make it illegal to burn the flag, because he doesn't ever want to infringe on the First Amendment rights. And then at the same time, he's talking about almost completely abolishing the Second Amendment. And I'm like, it just drove, and I know it was fake. But Hollywood is a political propaganda arm of Washington also.
100%. Yeah.
And here 30 years ago, they were trying to push the same things that they're trying to push now. And
I'll tell you though, it's really funny. As soon as your eyes are open and you're starting to pay attention, you can't stop it, right? So you pick up on every single little thing that's going on, and you're just like, man, I used to like this. What happened?
Yeah, what do you do for fun now? I read the Bible, because everything else is poison.
Yeah.
That's That's close to the truth. Not the that's not, yeah, exaggerate a little bit.
I'm having conversations with Grok or Chat GPT trying to come up with some of these policies, running stuff down. I mean, look, that's why I said we're really working hard, me and Jack, to try to figure out these ways. What can we do? Okay, does this hold water? Oh, no, okay, this one says it does. This one says it doesn't. Let's try. We're trying everything we can because when we see a problem, we're trying to attack that problem. How can we fix it? Because, like I said, I was an electrician and a nurse. I've been solving problems since I was 14 years old. I'm not going to stop now.
Yeah, good. How can people help you get the word out that you're trying to make changes? Now, your website is
Yep.
votejackandpete.com, right?
VoteJackandPete.com.
And if you're watching on YouTube or Rumble, it's in the description. So you'll be able to find it there and click right on it easily. And on your website, you have all the issues we talked about here. Plus you have, voter ID and voter roll integrity. And you seem to have really logical, common sense.
And that's really what it is. It's really common sense and logical. That's what I strive on.
Right, but that doesn't work that well in a blue state. So how can people help get the word out? I mean, do you guys have a team that you're building, door knockers? What's going on?
So we're trying. I mean, as far as the door knocking, we haven't quite hit that yet. I mean, we've had some. We've been trying to go to all these little events that are out here, right? Every single town has concerts all summer long. We've been out there handing out flyers.
Right.
We keep trying to get in front of people. We want name recognition. I've been trying to blast social media. I'm going to continue to try to push that and try to boost these posts all throughout the county here, right? All through the district. We just have to get out here and we have to let people know, listen, we're normal people. We are not politicians. We're not here trying to take your money. We're not here trying to screw you. We're trying to help. We want to turn things around because the way that we're doing is unsustainable. So really it's grassroots trying to just spread these. I'm going to continue. Look, the videos, I think, when I was looking for the candidates I wanted to vote for, I'm trying to watch what they say. I want to see exactly what we're doing right now, where we have these conversations so you can get inside somebody's head a little bit and see where they're at and where they're coming from. And, listen, I'm really banking on people wanting to do that same thing, especially right now when everything is so polarized. And, basically our politicians are like celebrities.
Yeah. That's the thing. They're all doing TikTok dances instead of doing their job. And sadly it works. It's a couple things. One thing that you don't have to answer now, but I was talking to somebody we were saying, it's funny, the number you threw out earlier when you said, you could maybe save, say, $2,000 if illegal immigration wasn't there, $2,000 per household on taxes. Somebody I was talking to was like, well, what if people save, $2,000 a year on property taxes, what's that going to do for them? And I took offense to it. And I was like, you are so out of touch with the reality that so many people live with, I said, you may not think that that's a lot, but to somebody, who's barely making ends meet, that's groceries for a couple weeks.
Listen, the average property tax bill in New Jersey is $10,000. $10,000 a year.
Yeah. So what do we
astronomical. Anything helps at this point in time. The energy, we've been pushing real hard on energy right now. All right. The Democrat policies with all these green initiatives, they've really put us in a bind. And there's no easy way to come out of this. This is going to be a long time struggle trying to pull back from these policies, that these Democrats have put in there with the $7 billion for wind that generates no energy. The solar panels. We've shut down our coal plants. We've shut down a lot of our natural gas. They even tried to shut down a nuclear. I mean, and rely on. Look, these solar. It's not cutting the bills, and the bills are just going to continue to go through the roof. I mean, we really have to figure out how we're going to dig ourselves out of these holes, and what's going to be next. But it's going to take time to do that.
Yeah, it is going to take time because first, like you said, you got to get in there and see what's really going on. Where is the money really going? What can we get rid of? And then convince everybody to help you get rid of it. I mean, it's just wild. If you could establish a little Doge office, Department of New Jersey Efficiency,
we're going to need it.
Wouldn't that be wonderful? I mean, I think
Hmm.
I think every household should have a Doge. I think every city, every state government should
Agreed.
have, and every department within
Especially when you
itself.
see some of these politicians were spending money to go party at stadiums, renting out the whole stadium. I forget exactly where that was at. But oh, let's have a birthday party. Let's rent out the whole stadium. You rented out a whole stadium for a birthday party? I mean, this just doesn't make sense.
Yeah, no, we got other ones around the country flying to Paris for a conference and taking limousines and doing all this on the taxpayer dime. I think I mentioned earlier in Massachusetts that people voted for the audit and they're not getting it. So the Boston Herald is actually doing all this digging on
And
on
that's it.
expenses, and they're like, you're not going to do the audit. We're just going to show you what we're finding, and they're showing
There it is.
all this hideous spending on the taxpayer dime on government credit cards. The people, we're reaching more and more people. I have to say, we just found out this week that Democrats have lost millions of registered voters, and they have all been found in the Republican Party, and that's nationwide.
That's
It
it.
is happening. People are hearing the truth.
Mhm.
The truth is getting through. Some
And that's
people
what that's what we're
never.
banking on, Elena. That right there.
Yeah, that's that, and that's what my prayer for you is that New Jersey finally wakes up and starts to say, let's try something new. Maybe the guy with the R next to his name isn't a Nazi, fascist, racist, homophobe. Maybe he's just a regular guy like me who wants to make things a little easier for everybody. That's my prayer for you. I do want to talk about your clothes though before we go. So you were introduced at an event with Jack Ciattarelli. Now, if you're not familiar, Jack Ciattarelli is running for governor in New Jersey, and he had something very nice to say about Pete. Hold on.
That's right. Oh, you got it? Let's
I
do
got it.
The best dressed guy here. Peter's up. Hi, everybody. Peter Sykes, running for Assembly with Jack here. You know, he just said it. Lou Greenwald has been in office for 30 years. We are tired of it. New Jersey is at a crossroads. It's time for a change. We're turning this state red.
Right on. How'd you get to be best dressed man?
Well, it's funny. Right before I started this, right, even before I knew I was running, I said, "Oh, Fetterman, he dumbed down dress code. I can run for office now." And I said it on your show, And then all of a sudden they asked me to run, and it's like, oh man, now I got to get suits, right? Because look, you gotta dress for the job you want.
Right.
A smart woman told me she likes her men to look classy, so I hope I did that tonight.
You did.
All right.
You did. I honestly, when I found out that, after that Fetterman conversation where I was like, no, I can't stand the way he's dressed. I went off on it. I thought we were just having a conversation. I didn't realize I was going to make an impact.
Oh my God, it took to heart, apparently.
I'm thrilled that I made an impact and we could change the culture even a little bit and move back towards class and dignity. And you look fantastic. And thank you I even put on a blouse tonight, because I was like, I gotta try to keep
yes,
up.
Is that what it is?
Yes, because there was an esteemed guest this evening. I said I have to make this a little bit more formal than usual. So I'm even rubbing off on you, and you're rubbing off on me in return. So thank you so much. VoteJackandPete.com. What else do you want to say before we go tonight?
Look, you can also find me on Facebook at Peter Sykes or Vote Jack and Pete on Facebook as well. Look, basically where we're at, you just heard it there. That handsome fella, in front of the fire truck said it. 30 years, Lou Greenwald, super glue Lou, has been in super glued to that assembly chair, right here in Legislative District 6. He has went ahead and he's the majority leader in assembly. Okay, every single one of the policies that you're seeing being pushed right now that we talked about today, whether it's energy, whether it's education, whatever it may be, has been voted on by Lou Greenwald and pushed. So we need a change, guys. So please follow me, come support me. All right, we're trying to make a change here in New Jersey when we're going to turn this state red. We're going to fix it, and hopefully we can have New Jersey leading the way in freedom next to Florida.
That would be awesome. Yes, let's just compete like crazy to be who can be the freest state.
I love it. I love it
because New Jersey is a beautiful place.
It
It
is.
really is. And God bless you for moving back and taking this on. And thank you so much for coming tonight, Pete.
Absolutely. It's been a blast, Elena. I can't wait till next time.
Yeah, you're coming back before the election for sure.
Absolutely.
All right. Catch you later.
All right. Yep. Bye-bye. Bye-bye.
Bye. Hey, thank you all for coming tonight. Really appreciate you watching. Go to votejackandpete.com if you can. Support them financially. This, one by one, if we can flip districts, we can flip states, and we can protect our children and protect the American dream and make it feasible for people if we're not just being buried in taxes. It's exhausting. But thanks for listening. God bless you. God bless America.